To get to the water pump and to remove the pulley, you have to tilt the engine up. So in order to do that, you have to loosen up the center motor mount that's down here and remove the nut on the right passenger side motor mount, and then put a jack, hydraulic jack, underneath the engine oil pan and lift or tilt the engine up on an angle. The replacement water pump that I got is manufactured by Gates. It comes with a stainless steel gasket. No RTV is required. So this Toyota water pump has 16 mounting holes, a combination of 12 and 10 millimeter bolts, and these two holes over here are for the thermostat housing assembly. The way you notice the difference between a 12 and a 10 millimeter bolt is the size of the holes. So you can't get a 12 millimeter bolt through that hole, for example, or that one, but you can get it through this one. There's a little push pin behind here. I'm going to lift the motor up, and it's going to be pulling on this. So to release the tension off the stud, I'll just whack it with a hammer. So the purpose of lifting passenger side motor up so that I'll eventually be able to pull this pulley out, because if it's too low, there's not enough clearance to pull it out. Okay. I think I hear it. There we go. Take that one over here like that. For easy belt removal and insulation, what I like to do is remove this pulley first. So the way I do it is I loosen the tension on this bolt, then relieve the tension on the belt through the pulley tensioner. Then with my other hand, I remove the pulley, and then this belt will straighten out. And there'll be less tension on the belt, and then it becomes very easy to remove the belt as well as install the belt. This you go clockwise to remove the pulley. So we're using this number 6 E-socket to remove this stud so that we could put on the strap wrench to hold the pulley in place while I remove the pulley bolts. There. We use this 12mm box wrench to take off each of the nuts. Okay, now we're going to remove the 16 combination of 12 and 10 millimeter bolts. The electric ratchet wrench will help a little bit with taking off most of the bolts, but you may still have to revert back to a 1/4 inch ratchet wrench with a 10 and 12 millimeter socket to get the rest of the bolts off. I'm just putting a little RTV on the threads to replace the RTV that came from the factory. This is 12 millimeter bolts. The 10s didn't have any RTV on it. I'm going to put the pulleys back on. I'll start with this back one over here, and then the water pump pulley, the tensioner pulley, then I'll mount the belt, and then relieve tension off the belt, and then mount the final either over here. Like that. Okay, the tricky part about this is this part of the belt that wraps around the tensioner pulley has to squeeze in between the crankshaft and the water pump pulley right here. So you start by putting one belt underneath the water pump, get it in the groove, and then you could squeeze the other part of the belt in. I'm going to put silicone dielectric grease in here, replace the O-ring over here, and replace the O-ring over here. Dielectric grease. Line up the side motor mount bracket to the motor mount stud. Now tighten up the front motor mount bracket bolt. Grease around here. There's this little relief valve over here that may release air that's in the lines. Only a little bit. Slight amount of air. I'll tighten this back up. Okay, we'll start the car, and if there's any air in the lines and the thermostat opens up, we should be able to push the air out. If you didn't have this, the air would pop out at the same time it would push coolant out. Then you got a big mess. I'm just squeezing the upper hose, make sure there's no air. And we're done.